Look at that. Sliding into your Wednesdays from Michelob Ultraland.
That's how you start a Wednesday.
Adam, thanks for the beers. We will resume our normal positions there and pretend like we know what we're doing here. Now that we've had Michelob Ultras.
Was that a full beer I just drank?
Hey, it was almost a full one. I better grab my coffee next one.
So I was not planning on that.
You didn't read the script.
but hey, not bad actually.
Sliding into to real estate though. Hey, rainy Wednesday morning here. It's Rusty Putter. Adam is in an undisclosed location. We're back with Tony Mitidiero to talk about some fun things. First off, we'll cover the really boring stuff, and then we'll get into some stories and some role play and all of that stuff. Illinois jamming through some budget situations. There's talk of the increase on the real estate transfer tax to finance RTA, CTA type stuff. What does this mean for sellers? Their cost of sale is going up a lot, potentially. What else does it mean?
Cost of everything in Illinois is going up. I mean, it's unfortunate. It's like they're in this this spiral that they can't get out of. And I don't see any end in sight. They've proven, cutting expenses is off the books. And it just seems like it's going to get worse. So, I don't know how that has an effect. I was actually looking at some property in Frankfurt yesterday. Frankfurt's relatively high tax. You're seeing a divergence in values between Illinois and Indiana, where, in other words, these people you're not going to be getting the appreciation you should be getting. And Dan Proft, who I used to follow and whatever, he's on the radio every morning on 560 AM. One of the things that he talks about is he does like a historical analysis of like 10, 15, and 20 years of what people in Illinois have made in appreciation on their property versus other states. And it's just been so compressed relative to the rest of the country. And it's really a shame because a lot of people's overall net worth is in their house. So it holds you back big time and sort of pigeonholes you to the area.
All right. So Illinois people, maybe we'll welcome you over here. Maybe we won't. We don't know.
Then again, we look at some other towns that are, we've got some buyers that are looking all over the place, actually. And in some of them, appreciation has gone crazy, but overall expense has gone even crazier. So I have no idea what's coming.
Well, I think that's something that happens, and we've talked about this before. Like when you're buying an owner-occupied house and you're going to live in it, it's a whole different thing. There's not like there's maybe a business side to it. Yes, does it pad or help your net worth? Certainly. But expecting Wall Street level return on an owner occupied house isn't necessarily the right expectation to have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we see that actually, we were talking about it before we got started here with some of the inventory buildup that we see. Some of it is due to agents just way overpricing things. I looked at several listings in Northwest Indiana yesterday that were like $1.3 and $1.5 million that are legitimately, and I'm not just saying this, they're $900,000 houses where the agent has just gone crazy and is trying to slap their name on something that's over $1 million because that's very impressive in this market. If those listings come down in value or come down in list price by $300,000, it does not mean that that house lost $300,000 in value. It just means that they were wrong on pricing it. The guy bought it in 2019 or 2020 for $700,000. You didn't go from $700,000 to 1.3 or $1.5 million. It didn't happen.
I think that's the next part of the conversation here is all this media hoopla about, inventory's up, buyers are down, prices are sliding. There's a lot that goes into that, right? That's a national picture. And it starts though with the micro pictures of overlisted houses in particular markets, right? And then it also factors in situations like California where you have tons of wildfires, problems with homeowners insurance, and then people can maybe not secure actual affordable financing to buy houses, similar to Florida. So you have those coastal issues, bringing it closer to home.
So, what they try to do, and as you know, is like the actuaries try to take what I call like the vaccine approach to it. All right. How they come up with like, what is it, a viability of a vaccine or its adverse impacts is they take a small sampling of several hundred people and they take a look at what the results are, and then they extrapolate that figure as a percentage out to the rest of the population, and that's how they determine how many people it would have killed or saved or whatever. And I think that probably works pretty well when we're talking about the human body, because at a certain point we're all relatively same. But when we take a look, when we see these housing figures that we see in the news or that you and I read, they're taking like a data point or some study of some small group, and they're taking one data point out of it and then extrapolating that to all sorts of different things. All right. So we really can't do that. We know that transaction count is down. And when transaction count is down, realtor count is very high. So there's a lot of agents that are very desperate to take a listing who will take at the wrong price. There's a lot of agents that also know prices are up. So now they want to say, hey, I have this $1 million listing. So they'll push things further. So there's a lot more that goes into it. However, overall, things are more expensive, right? Interest rates are higher and prices are up, and we expect them to remain up, which kind of leads us to what I wanted to talk about today.
Yes.
Because you're like, what do you want to talk about? And I'm like, I want to talk about how people get to that next step.
Yeah.
And
you're realtor Tony. So, and you get to be mortgage guy, Tony, I think in this conversation too, right? So next step, obviously it could be lots of things, right? It could be, next step could be your first house. Next step could be, the move up to family estate, or it could be the moving to single level. I think we want to talk primarily about the second and third options there, right? I have this house, I'd like to, make the family estate move, or my, home family size has grown, or the final move, right?
Yeah. Or what we see now is, and I think a lot of us, maybe in our age group between me and I, and a little bit older, have this type of house that we want in mind. All right. And recognize that it's expensive, but we could do it if we had, we start calculating, okay, what's my house worth, and thinking about taking the money out of this. If I took the money that have here and what I can borrow, maybe even a little bit of my own that I have, I could buy this place. Great. And then they go and look to the market. You open up realtor.com or Zillow or whatever it is that you like to use, and you're like, man, there's like one available that meets that, or maybe there's nothing on it. So you're like, screw it. And then they start to say, I'm not putting my house on the market. This is what they start thinking, because I don't want to get my house sold and not be able to find one. So I just scrap the whole thing. Right. And I think what I wanted to talk about is we're in a very low inventory environment, and I don't expect that to change a whole lot for a very long time. Having gone through the recession, I saw people get stuck in their type of quality of life or where they live for a very long time. And I think that if you scrap the whole program and don't put a plan in place, that's going to happen to you too. You're never going to make that next step.
You always have that itch or that little thing in the back of your head, right? We talked about opportunity cost too before we jumped on, and like, if you make one decision now, we and I specifically talked about something that cost me $60,000 over 5 years by making one decision that resulted in 5 years of indecision.
Correct.
And we're seeing that obviously home prices elevated a little bit, interest rates up, the cost to transact. So you and I have talked about this situation. I have in my mind, I have a house that I've thought, serves my family purpose very well. But there's always that one other thing that, like, if this came up for sale, that I would have to figure out how to throw it together, right? And lots of other people do that. And I think there's a whole list of people that probably have the same idea. And I would venture to guess you actually probably have the same one too. 5 to 10 acres, south of 30, west of 65, and north of DeMott, right?
Absolutely.
There's probably 10,000 people, primarily 30 to 50-year-old male.
I'm like, yeah, you're like the 10 millionth caller on that line. But then they also say all of the same things. Okay. And where it ends up going to is they, in their mind, when I start asking how they're going to pay for it, they very quickly, we end up at, they think that when the right property comes up, they're going to sell their house. I'm like, let me get it straight. You're going to sell your house. What are you going to do? You're going to tell this seller who's got people lined up to buy this place
for miles,
all right, who are non-contingent and selling anything and ready to go. Oh, take my offer. I just have to sell this house. I'm the guy. Like, why? You know what? I mean, they ball up your offer and throw it in the garbage can. And this is what I would do is if I was a listing agent, tell my client, no way. Why would we do this? Right? So the problem is these people generally shut down there. They just like stop. They're defeated. Like, I didn't mean to defeat you. I just wanted to bring you to what reality is. Now let's work on a plan. All right. And we actually have one. This whole thinking of like, I'm going to sell my house. Like, you don't just like transfer the equity. You have to sell it, close on it, get the money, and then you're non-contingent. All right. That program's not going to work. We have a solution. It takes a little bit of extra planning, but really not much.
It's no cost planning initially, right? So what it does is in a process, it all starts with the process. So if you have that itch, how are we going to scratch that itch? Let's build out a 1-2 option A, option B, option C, right? I think, I don't know if anyone watches the Netflix thing. I just watched the CIA Bin Laden thing. They talk about, they ended up on plan F. We can build out A, B, and C pretty easily for you. And that way, you know, when that perfect house pops up, what you have to do. And if we're going to go A, B, or C on the financing side or the mortgage side, and then that allows agent to execute A, B, or C because they know all of the parameters.
Right. And I think if people feel like it's going to be this big expense or whatever, so let's jump into it. And I don't watch Netflix. I don't really watch TV. I think it's like the people with kids and like normal lives and stuff. Like, I have no idea what's going on in popular culture. That beer slide thing, apparently that's a thing.
I don't know. I just made it up.
Oh, all right. Well, hey,
I'm an influencer.
I didn't mind. The beer was good. Actually, I probably have the rest of it here in a minute. But so let's talk a little bit about what some of the options we've delved into. Getting yourself pre-approved to continue to buy, not contingent on the front end, just using a mortgage. And that process involves you taking out more money than what you would have. And then we hope, and I've been able to sell your house as soon as you get under contract, line it all up. You end up having to take less money that you wanted, but there's a lot of stress there. All right. Not as much stress as I have to sell, whatever. So what are some other options? I mean, let's run through it.
Well, so let's talk about that. The whole stress option there. Like, if I just download that into my personal life, I have 2 kids, a crazy dog, trying to juggle buying that other house while dealing with showings and all of the other stuff with selling my house is pretty difficult. I also have a family of 4's worth of crap in my house too. When we weigh out these options of trying to pack up, move all of that other crap too. So that's why that option's there. It maybe not for everyone.
That option is also there. However, one thing that knocks that option out for a lot of people is the debt to income ratio requirements on it. All right. So you're going to have to show on paper that you qualify for a lot more mortgage than what you would have wanted on the next one, plus the existing mortgage that you have, plus the down payment coming from you to make it happen.
Yes.
All right. So that takes a lot of people out of the picture. If you qualify for this, great. We do have a lot of people that do it. Okay. But a lot of people don't.
That brings us to option number 2. The whatever we want to call it, bridge, synthetic bridge, the extract equity out of current house without selling, deploying that as down payment, also securing a offer that kind of operates in the mortgage guideline gray area that allows us to exclude the vacating residence from your debt to income ratio.
All right, we're going to put that in English for a minute, but
translate, please.
But briefly, So basically, years ago, you'd hear parents talking about bridge loans, which was a loan that you could get that is applied against your current house and will give you the equity out of it to buy the next one. All right. A few problems with that. One, basically, like early 2000s, right about the time of the recession, banks just quit writing them. They couldn't make any money on them. They passed the HF, what is it?
HFHA?
FHFA.
FHA.
Anyways, and they put Dodd-Frank, and they put all these rules in where banks can't make it over a certain amount as a percentage of the loan. And the time that the money is out is so short, they couldn't charge enough to make any money on it. So bridge loan just went away. For years, I used to tell people, well, it's not a thing. Like, you can't get one. All right. And so now you can, but they still have not a lot of people write them. You still have the traditional problems associated with them, which the traditional problems are, one, you have to qualify for both again.
Yep.
Okay. So you have to be able to show that you can handle the bridge loan, which knocks out your first mortgage and the money on top of it. So it's even bigger now, and a mortgage for the next place. A lot of people that doesn't work for. All right. So when we say synthetic bridge, meaning that technically it bridges what we can offer, bridges the gap between you owning your current house and getting into the next one. So let's kind of work out how does this work, but it doesn't have those negative features to it.
It's not like, so the big thing on the other part of classic bridge loan is it was the liens, the mortgage is recorded against both properties, the one that you were selling and the one that you're buying. And so then there would be an exit cost because you'd have to get out of that loan at some point as well. So the new product is only against the property that you're vacating. It does not, there's nothing involved. They don't take any equity or lien or position on your new house. So talk to us. We walk you through it. We go, okay, Tony, you own 123 Ash Street. You owe $100,000 on it. And our automated valuation model says it's worth 400. You want to buy 800,000 at 456 Maple Street. How do we do that? Well, we can pull X amount of dollars out of Ash. Right? Was Ash was the first one? 123 Ash, whatever it was. Yeah.
First house.
Yes. And and so then at the closing on 456 Maple, house number 2, this company, we will wire you all the equity that we were able to pull out of Ash. We'll wire that for your down payment and closing costs and however you want to structure the regular financing on that second purchase.
So we get the money out of the first house to be able to close. Now, when we approve you for this, to get the approval, do you have to have a place lined up already?
No, they encourage you to start this process before you have a house lined up, before you even consider putting your house on the market, because they involve your intended prospective listing agent in this process as well.
So start early. This starts before we go looking for properties.
They actually penalize you on the loan to value, on the loan that you would be extracting, the house you'd be taking equity out of. They reduce the amount you can pull if your house is already listed.
Okay, so we start before we do anything, before we list the house, before we do that, we get approved for this program. We can figure out how much money we can get out, all right, and what it's going to cost. Then once we're underway, do we list the house first and then go shopping, or do we go shopping first and then list the house?
Go shopping first, then worry about listing the house.
Fantastic. Now, when we find the house, we find the house that we want to buy. At this stage, we're non-contingent, right? This
Correct.
is a great feature of this. You're not contingent on the sale of that house. So the listing agent here doesn't need to know that you're going to be selling that house. It doesn't even enter into the equation. And because you are being given a large amount as the down payment from your existing house, you will look like you are putting you will be putting a lot down. So you'll look really good on your offer. You can be that 30, 40, 50, 60% down and competing against some guy who's putting 5 or 10. And even though 5 or 10 could be great, 60% down looks a lot better. All right. So we're going to be able to get the house that we want at better terms. All right. So now We get under contract. And when we go to closing, now you said the bank is holding back on this money, but they know how much you're going to need for this closing, correct? So it's not like we gave you the money on the front end, but when you're coming to close, you say, okay, how much do you need? And then the bank wires it directly to the purchase closing, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So we wire directly to the purchase closing. Then when we close, is there what happens with the other house, the first house?
So that starts the resale period, the payback period on the money that we took out. You have 6 months now to go under contract on the house that you intend to sell.
Okay, 6 months, but pause right here. One of the things he mentioned was payback period. On a traditional bridge loan, you would be required to be making monthly payments on this thing all the way along.
And probably a prime +3, so 10%, 11%.
Correct. So this is technically called a payment repayment period. However, you're not making any payments.
$0.
This is a fee for program thing. The fee for the program is going to be paid when you pay off and close on the old property.
And we actually, in this program, if you have, so let's just say your mortgage payment on 123 Ash is $2,200 a month. In this product, we're going to hold 6 months, or we'll say 2,000 with easy math. So they're going to hold $12,000 in escrow. So, in July, your July mortgage payment comes due for 123 Ash. You fill out a form, and the bridge company actually forwards that payment to your mortgage company for you.
So the expenses on the house that we own are set up to be paid out of this amount as well. The original house, the first house, we've got money set aside to pay those expenses. And we have 6 months to get that house sold and closed. What that means in reality for us as an agent, you as a seller, this gives you and a buyer, this gives you the time to get your things and your crap out of the old house, get situated in the new house, get the old house properly ready for sale. All right. Get it staged, get it looking great. So we're going to get more money now than if you'd have just actually ran around like a nutcase and put it on the market because you had to buy this other house. Okay. So we generally find that's going to be enough of a difference. That right there, the difference is going to pay the fee associated with the program. Okay. So now what happens? So we get the house ready. We've got anywhere in that time period to get it on the market and get it sold. Correct?
Yep.
All right. So now we get that house on the market. It does fantastic. We get it sold. We're under contract. We go to closing. What happens at closing?
So at closing, you have your sale price, less your transaction cost, commission, title, all that stuff, less first mortgage payoff, less the bridge payoff.
Okay. So it acts like a second loan that's being paid off. The fee to do so is built right in. You didn't have those interest payments. You had flexibility on time. You probably acquired your next house in under great terms because you looked awesome on paper and you had flexibility. You had flexibility in closing time. You had, you were putting a lot down on the mortgage. All right. So you save some money there and you had the time to get your current house ready. I don't know. So what is the downside associated with this? And this sounds very salesy. I would pitch this program to anyone in my family that needed to do it. I mean, there's not really, in my opinion, I don't see a downside because this allows the freedom to acquire the next property at best terms, and it allows you to sell and transact the property you're moving out of at best terms. Yeah.
It's
unbelievable. It's like the difference in the terms. So of course there's a fee with the program. All right. The fee is no more when we've looked at it. This is no more than any bridge loan, and a bridge loan is actually going to cost you a lot in a lot of different areas that you're not going to want to give up. Okay.
And this was just so easy. So here's in my opinion, the best part about all of this is there's no fee until that transaction closes. So what happens if you end up You have everything comes together, and then Tony lists your house, sells it in that period where you're still under contract to buy the new house. You're not out any dollars. We can scrap that program and then use the equity from that sale if you end up
Holy
in that
shit,
situation.
I didn't even know that.
There's like, quite honestly, like, this is why we talked about this episode about, you change your smoke detectors twice a year, you go to the dentist twice a year. If you have that itch, let's build the plan, because there's a third option too. You want to know what the third option is? It's watch this. Hey Dad. So the house that I've been looking for really came on the market. So you remember that thing you did with Julia a while back? We paid for that house in cash, and then they did that delayed financing thing. Yeah. Oh, this one's like 1.3 million.
Dad, I need 500,000.
Oh yeah, I knew. I figured. Yeah, I know. So yeah, that one doesn't always work. But there are other alternatives like delayed financing. It doesn't work in these higher price points a lot because someone would need to have that much cash.
Sure.
But there are other solutions. So that's why we start with plan A, plan B, plan C. And if none of them work, but
now, who is this good for? So to kind of put a bow on this, I mean, the benefits are fantastic. And I wanted to talk about this today because I'm like, people don't know that this exists. I didn't know that this exists. It's relatively new until fairly recently. And I'm going to get the word out. So who are the good people that this works for? What position are you in life or in your house or whatever that this works for?
I mean, quite honestly, if you are equity rich and maybe liquidity strapped, so
your house is worth a lot.
Your house
mortgage is low.
Think about it. Like, so the generation above us, right? It was work super hard, get a pension, pay your house off, right? Well, you paid a house off that you paid 80 grand for. That's maybe now it's worth 500, but now cost to reentry and where you want to be is 650. You didn't anticipate that. So how do we do it? Well, we pull all that money out. You're on the fixed income plan. That works. It also works for people in our generation, like me specifically.
Equity. If you have equity, this program works for you.
Even if you don't have a ton, even if you just don't have enough cash flow to support the 2 mortgage payment thing, and what I tell people when we have this conversation is, if you're sure that you don't want that house anymore, let's start the conversation here.
Okay. So if we have equity, but then another one is if you are in the market, all right, and you are going to realize some tax implications associated with getting your money out of the market, all right? And a lot of times there's some funds where you say, well, maybe you say, well, if I replace it, get the money back within 12 months or whatever the limitation is, I'll be fine. Yes, great, I understand. However, I look at a very recent example we had where the market tanked, all right, in the interim, all right? So this guy would have had to pull the cash right at when it was at the bottom, all right? And by the time things are closed up, now we're back high again. So the opportunity cost could just be gigantic. Like, why would you gamble that? Pay a fee so that you don't have to do that. It's going to end up being less than all of it.
That's what it comes down to is, again, the plan. I think that we're both very approachable people. I would venture to guess that either of us would have no problem buying anyone a couple beers twice, 3 times a year just to have that checkup. If you think that your house isn't working for you, or you think that your mortgage isn't working for you, just so you have that plan, so you don't end up like buyer B that just ends up blocked out of the market because seller A has gold and is printing money and has a line of people trying to buy that house, and you didn't have any plan. Because guess what? I could call my dad and ask him to borrow $600,000-$700,000 because he's now he's gonna be 60 in a couple of weeks. So the Roth IRA and the 59.5-year thing, I could probably convince him on a tax plan, but he's probably not going to want to do that unless we had a plan for it first.
Yeah. So it's just get the word out. If this doesn't apply to you, tell somebody about it. I know very, very few. As a matter of fact, we had a deal this week. An agent who I think is actually a really great agent. Like, I like this guy. He's smart. He knows about the market. He had no idea that this existed. And actually he sent us a client. The dad actually like just either wouldn't listen or whatever. Just I couldn't get his arms around it. However, the agent's very glad to know about it. And I think the client definitely would have done it if it would.
I understand.
He gave no reasoning.
I understand. I understand. Like, it does sound like it's too good to be true. It is a great product, but the too good to be true part is absorbed in the per cost of transaction or to transact. It's still a damn good deal. Like, when you factor that in, there's not really downside on it. What it does is just provides that maximum flexibility.
Yeah. So if you think it makes sense or you want to know more about it, get in touch with Tony. How do they find you? 630-284-9729. Apply with jr.com. Follow Facebook, YouTube, all this stuff. They can Google your name, spell it right and wrong. Yeah. You can Google me. You can call me 708-259-3734. I don't often answer. So you Google me, shoot me an email, do whatever. Send me a message through Facebook, but get in touch with one of us. We'd be happy to tell you guys more about this and figure out what your specific situation is.
You got that scratch? Get that itch, or get that scratch. You got that itch. You got to get scratch. We'll get you the scratch. Yeah, you got the itch. We'll get you the scratch on this one. But seriously, if you're in that position where this house just isn't working for you, and you need to move or you want to move, but you just don't know how, start the conversation. It's free. Like, I mean, I guess the conversation's free. Eventually you'll pay, but that part's free and the plan's free. And we're happy to do mortgage and real estate checkups for you. Hey, what's my house in the general marketplace? What do you think it's worth? Okay, great. Does that part of the process give you ease? Okay, we'll move forward.
Absolutely. But we got to make a plan. There's not a lot for sale. And I don't expect that there will be. So if you want to do something with your life, your plan's going to have to be pretty well structured and ready to go to compete with the other people when the right property does come.
And if you tell me that you're looking for 5 to 10 acres in that area, call a different mortgage guy, because I'm going to take your property. Just kidding. JK, this is entertainment only.
Exactly.
All right, we're out.
All right, bye.
I'm done. Cut the show.